Have you ever felt completely torn, like your heart and your head are in a total war? Well, today we're cracking open an ancient text that has a surprisingly powerful answer for that exact feeling. We're talking about the Bhagavad Gita. And look, this is way more than just some old story. At its core, it's really a guide for a problem that is, well, timeless. It speaks directly to that feeling we all get. How do you handle your responsibilities when your emotions are just a total mess? It's all about finding that little bit of clarity when everything around you feels chaotic.
So, just picture this for a second. You're at a crossroads, a huge turning point in your life. You know what you're supposed to do, right? You know what your duty is, but every single part of you is just screaming no. That feeling? That intense internal conflict? That is the exact crisis that kicks off the entire conversation in the Gita.
And this powerful conversation, well, it's known as the Bhagavad Gita, which, by the way, translates to something really beautiful, the Song Divine. And honestly, what a perfect name for the kind of wisdom it holds.
Now, the Gita's reach is just massive. It's not just a religious text for one specific group of people. Its teachings have connected with people all over the world. It's often called the essence of the Vedas, the core scriptures of Hinduism, all boiled down into this one powerful dialogue that just dives headfirst into the biggest questions about life.
So where does this divine song actually happen? You might be picturing a peaceful temple or a quiet monastery, right? Nope. It takes place in probably the most intense, high-stakes setting you can think of, a battlefield, literally moments before a massive war is about to kick off.
Yeah, this is the scene we get right in the very first verse. You have two huge armies lined up on this holy ground called Kurukshetra. But here's the thing. This is not your typical good guys versus bad guys story. Not at all. The real drama, the real tension, comes from who is standing on the opposite sides of that field.
Okay, so on one side, you've got the Pandavas. Their champion is this incredible warrior, Arjuna. And his charioteer, his guide, that's Lord Krishna himself. Now, look at the other side. It's his own family, the Kauravas, led by his cousin. And it gets even worse. Fighting with them are his own teachers, his granduncle. I mean, these are the people he grew up with, the people he loved and looked up to his entire life. So the stage is set, right? The battle horns have been blown, everything is about to erupt, and then our hero, Arjuna, is just hit by this wave of emotion. He looks across the battlefield, he sees his family, his friends, and his will to fight just completely falls apart.
And this is so important to get. Arjuna isn't being a coward here. This is coming from a place of deep, deep compassion. He's explaining to Krishna, what good can possibly come from killing my own family? What kind of victory is that when your kingdom is built on the bodies of the people you love? He's convinced that a war like this won't just cause incredible sadness, it'll tear apart their whole society and lead everyone down a really dark path.
And this quote, wow, it just perfectly captures how low he's feeling. This is the moment he literally throws down his bow and arrows. He's totally defeated, and the battle hasn't even started. He's saying he would rather let them kill him, unarmed, not even fighting back, than take part in this. This is his absolute rock bottom. And it's this moment of complete crisis that finally prompts Krishna to speak.
So, seeing Arjuna in this state of total breakdown, what does Krishna do? He doesn't just give him a quick, "You can do it," pep talk. Oh no. Instead, he starts to lay out this incredibly deep spiritual philosophy. He starts explaining the true nature of reality, of action, of duty. And he introduces two main paths, two disciplines to follow.
Now, it's worth pointing out when the Gita says yoga, it doesn't mean the physical poses we might think of today. In this context, yoga is a spiritual discipline. It's a path to connect with something greater, a path to find your purpose and a deeper understanding of everything. And Krishna says there are basically two main ways to go about it. First, Krishna talks about the path of knowledge, which is called Sankhya Yoga. This is all about understanding that the soul is eternal, right? It can't be hurt, it can't be destroyed, and that your true self isn't really the one doing things. But then Krishna really zeroes in on a second path for Arjuna, one that's much more about the here and now, and that's Karma Yoga, the yoga of selfless action.
Okay, so how does that actually work? Like, what do you do? Well, Krishna breaks it down pretty simply into 3 steps. Step 1, just do your duty. Do what needs to be done. But then comes the really mind-blowing part. You have to let go of any attachment to what happens next. You give up any claim on the results. And that leads to step 3. Stay balanced. Be totally even-minded whether you succeed or you fail. Because the action, that's your part. The outcome, that's not up to you. And this idea is summed up in what is probably the most famous verse in the entire Gita. It goes like this: you have a right to your work, but never to its fruits. You shouldn't act just because you want a specific reward. But, and this is key, that doesn't mean you should just sit around and do nothing. What Krishna is really teaching Arjuna here is how to act with 100% commitment, with total purpose, but to free himself from all the stress and anxiety that comes from wanting a specific outcome.
So as Krishna keeps teaching, you start to realize something. That battlefield, Kurukshetra, it's not just a physical place, is it? It's really a metaphor for the kinds of internal battles that we all fight every single day.
That conflict between your duty and your feelings, between what you know and what you fear, between doing something and doing nothing, that's the real war. The Gita brilliantly takes Arjuna's very external problem and turns it into an internal one. And in doing so, it gives all of us a kind of map for navigating our own moral battlefields with a little more clarity and purpose.
And that brings us right back to where we started, doesn't it? With a question. Because the Gita gives us the framework, but how we use it, that's completely up to us. It forces us to look at our own lives, our own struggles, our own duties, and ask ourselves, what is my battlefield? And when I'm standing on it, facing that impossible choice, what am I going to do?